The Brewhouse was created to capture and share with you the long history of the Genesee Brewery. But the brewery itself isn't half as interesting as the beer and the people who make it. Visit GeneseeBrewhouse.com. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. It is a break room takeover today. Kim Berntson joins us.
Yeah, good to be back.
Good to have you back. Yeah. Toby Motyka in for Mike Catalana co-hosting.
I'm going to hold it down on the non-break room side.
Very good. So will I. And we got the other half of the break room. What are you wearing?
It's a University of South Florida basketball jersey. I got this at the National Sports Collectors Convention for free because apparently nobody buys University of South Florida basketball jerseys. So
no way.
I wear it proudly. I love this jersey.
Pat Duffy, thanks for joining us. Hey, let's talk football. We're on the verge of starting whenever, whether it's first week of the season or somewhere later, the Josh Allen era in Buffalo. And it occurs to me that they were always going to have the comparisons with Pat Mahomes, because the Bills could have drafted him before they traded the draft pick last year, and Josh Rosen. We'll always have those comparisons. How do you think it's going to work out?
I mean, so far what we've seen from Josh Allen is impressive. I mean, I haven't really paid so close attention to the other guys just because, season's still early, not even the season yet. But what I've seen so far, I like. I don't have super high expectations of the kid now in his rookie season, but there have definitely been flashes of what they kind of predicted him to be. And I think so far so good. I think it looks like it could work out for him.
Mahomes is the one that's interesting to me.
Right. I mean, you think back to it, it's like the Bills got Tre'Davious White out of that. He's a pretty good player. He may actually be the best player on the team this year if he keeps growing. But Mahomes is the guy they could have had if they just stayed put and didn't have to do anything. He was right into your lap. It's so interesting to me watching the national narrative around all of these guys. Mahomes is, oh my God, did you see that touchdown pass?
He threw it
flat-footed. Never mind that horrible interception. Nobody's talking about it. Josh Allen has a pretty good first couple games, but he spun around on 4th and 3. What an idiot. He's going to fail miserably. And Rosen got upset over one thing in his first game, and people are like, nope. See, everything's validated. We're so quick to jump to conclusions on everybody. We got to let it breathe a little bit, and we got to buck the narrative. We got to just use our eyes rather than actually trying to predict what these guys were going to do before they stepped on a football field.
It's a 10 to 15 year process, it seems to me.
Well, I mean, I think in this league it's now more 8 to 10, right? Because if it's your guy, you have to know within 2.5 seasons to move on. But to your point, Toby, I think that goes both ways, because now all of a sudden, with Josh Allen starting the preseason game Sunday and looking like the front runner to start opening day for the Bills, everyone's saying, well, we've watched him grow, right? There were a lot of question marks about Josh Allen going into this draft. A lot of Bills fans, myself included, that were a little weary of drafting him. And then after 12 preseason drives against a second and third defense, he's ready to go as the starter. He's fixed his footwork and the balls look good. Right. I mean, listen, let's be real. The majority of Bills fans didn't sit through all of those preseason games. The majority of Bills fans saw the 2 touchdown passes on Twitter and decided he was their guy.
Right.
You're right. He's not as bad as everyone thought he was. But he's not ready to be a starting quarterback either. And all of these people that have just decided, Brady Quinn, former Notre Dame quarterback, goes on his radio show. I'm unbelievably impressed with Josh Allen. You haven't seen him in practice. You watched 12 drives. Shut up.
But it's just, he has improved. There's no denying that in the little bit of training camp that I've seen, he has improved. He is farther ahead mentally than I thought he would be. And mechanically, he seems to be making different kinds of strides. But, again, what's he going to do if he's out there week 1 against the Ravens? So, Kimmy, what's he going to do week 2 against the Chargers?
Is that week 1? Oh, no, the week 1. The exhibition game starts Sunday.
How important is it?
Yeah. I mean, it's this whole process.
In the bigger picture, I still don't know how much you know about him as a quarterback, but I do think it's important to see, his leadership here. Like the small things you're going to get a good feel for, his maturity, things like that. I don't think you're going to necessarily know if he should be the starter week 1 of the regular season, just if he plays well in one preseason game.
Yeah, and the last part of this, guys, you think the coaching staff knows or doesn't know, even to this point, who's going to start opening day?
I bet they know. And I bet the guy would have to go out and lose the job on Sunday. I believe that guy is Nate Peterman.
They have no idea. I've said it forever, and Catalana gets really upset when I say it. There is no plan. There is no process. They're all flying by the seat of their pants, and they have been the whole time.
This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. We'll talk more Buffalo Bills next. The Press Box, brought to you in part by Connors and Ferris, your workers' comp attorneys. Call 262-COMP, C-O-M-P, today. Welcome back to the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. We talk Buffalo Bills, brought to you by Connors and Ferris. Boy, sure is fun to talk about quarterbacks, especially when you've got them. So, what do you think of Nathan Peterman? I don't see how he could have played much better in the preseason. Why are we even discussing whether or not he starts?
Because the kid has been a little bit better than we thought in terms of Josh Allen, but Peterman has been better than we all thought he was going to be too, and that's the tough part for Nathan Peterman. If he hadn't come in last year and struggled against the Chargers, gotten knocked out in the snow, we would be so excited about what we were seeing from Peterman. But what happened last year, it lingers. It can't not linger. We have to give Peterman the opportunity to move on, but fans understandably are always going to remember what he did when he was given the chance to start. Look, he's been 17 of 20 with the one interception that went off his receiver's back shoulder. Otherwise, he's thrown a couple of touchdowns. You can't do much better than that. But because Josh Allen has been a little bit, if not moderately better than we all thought he was going to be at this point, we're kind of calling for Peterman's head a little too soon here.
You've been sort of on his a Peterman supporter from the beginning.
Well, not really a supporter. I thought that the coaching staff liked Peterman more than anybody else on the roster, and he'd get his opportunity. I will say this. I don't think Josh Allen starting this preseason game means that Peterman is out of the running to be the starting quarterback. That being said, there's another hypocritical thing that people are being weird about when it comes to Peterman and Allen. They want to hold Peterman's season against him last year, yet they will not acknowledge at all the questions coming out of the draft and the problems that Josh Allen had at Wyoming. You cannot ignore one and hold one over the other guy's head, right? Like, Peterman has looked very impressive. He was jaw-droppingly good in that first preseason game. Just ask Calvin Benjamin about it. I think that you need to start Nate Peterman opening day. I don't think there's any way around it, because once you go Josh Allen, there is absolutely no going back, and I think there is value in seeing what you have in Nate Peterman to see if he is a viable backup option moving forward.
Yeah, that half against the Chargers that we keep referring back to, there's only two ways you react to that if you're Nathan Peterman. I mean, you either beat it or you're defined by it. Mm-hmm. I think he's managed to treat it as a positive.
I guess we'll see, right? I mean, you've had enough time now to kind of to not necessarily get over it, but move forward. And I think that we're going to know a lot about Nathan Peterman and what you have in this guy and his maturity, and you're going to know who you want here moving forward, whether you want to move on from Peterman or, maybe this is your guy just until Josh Allen is ready. Although I don't know if Nathan Peterman's your guy for Josh Allen to learn from.
Right.
We'll find that out too.
Who's the week 2 opponent for the Bills?
Chargers.
The home opener. Yeah, you want to talk about a way to make everybody forget about a 5-interception half, go out against the Chargers, who once again are going to get after the quarterback this season, and play well in the home opener. The crowd is going to be amped for that. I do think Peterman's going to get the call on opening day in Baltimore. That game got a little bit easier with Smith, their top cornerback, getting suspended for the first 4 games. But the Chargers, the Vikings, the Packers, as Duffy said, you risk putting Josh Allen out there too soon and then you can't go back. Also, I think E.J. Manuel's a good example here. Josh Allen is more talented than E.J. Manuel, but he started too soon. The best 2 games of his career, the first 2 games of his career, then his confidence was broken and it just tailed off from that. You can't let that happen to Josh Allen. Those first 4 games are brutal.
Last thing of McCarron.
I just don't see a way forward for him here. He's been outplayed by both guys in the preseason. He's injured. I just don't see how he can possibly move forward with the Bills.
And I worry for both McCarron and Peterman, because I think especially with Peterman and the performance that he had last season, you have to play exceptionally well here. Because I think just managing a game, coming in and managing a game, that's not going to earn you the job.
Josh Allen has a chance to win the job on Sunday, but he has to outplay Peterman so drastically for it to happen, and I don't know if that's going to actually be possible for him.
This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. This portion brought to you by Connors and Ferris. Like it or not, next. Here's the Press Box Trivia question, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Here's the Press Box Trivia answer, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Like it or not, the time-honored baseball tradition of throwing at someone you can't get out any other way.
Okay, I understand that it's probably not the best thing to do, but the outrage from the baseball purists this past week, give me an freaking break, right? First of all, everybody is talking about baseball in a series that isn't really all that important to baseball right now, right? You've got the Red Sox running away with everything, the Indians running away with everything. It's starting to get boring as we're moving up to playoff position, and now you have baseball taking precedence on ESPN over NFL football, which never happens. It's creating a discussion, and people are acknowledging the game. You old school baseball guys get really, really upset when nobody talks about baseball, and then something happens where we want to talk about baseball. I can't believe this is why we're talking about baseball. Embrace it. Let it happen.
Rivalry.
Yeah, what's wrong with it?
But that's the whole thing, any press is good press, and that's not true.
Oh, really? We're talking about baseball.
I don't know. You want to throw at him because he flipped his bat and watched his home run leave, a la
Yeah, but people complain about
Joey
that
Bass.
too.
No, but you want to throw at a guy like
Yeah.
that, that's fine. But if you're throwing at a kid just because he's hitting well,
Well, don't hit well.
ooh,
Yes.
an idea that would
solved
be.
the offensive problem, didn't I?
I guess so.
This took a turn I wasn't expecting.
Well, no, I just, come on, give me up. But the outrage from old school baseball guys always makes me really angry because I know you got a ham radio in your pocket, you got the little thing in your ear to listen and do stats, and that's
You're
fine.
going to be there someday.
Yes.
Will I, though?
You admitted that was going to be you.
That is my dream.
I think it's the most cowardly act in sports. That you throw at someone and jeopardize a guy's career because you can't get him out.
Brush him back. Don't hit him in the middle of his
Then there's no equivalent in
Okay.
any other sport.
But you just said to jeopardize a career and throw him out because he's hitting well, not cool. Throwing at a guy because he flipped a bat, cool.
Well, I don't think
point.
that's necessarily cool either.
But
But
you said
there
that-
are reasons for
But
it.
if you're a jerk, you can be a jerk back. The guy wouldn't be a
Wait,
jerk.
If you're a jerk, I could potentially end your career.
No, never throw at
many
anybody's
times-
head.
He hit him in the hell. He hit him in the
Never
elbow.
throw it at
How many
anybody's
times
head.
had your career been over if it was threatened every time you were a jerk?
Right now, you would punch me in the face, it would be done.
Like it or not, Little League World Series.
I'm okay with the Little League World Series. I don't mind it. But you know what I don't like? Is 12-year-olds throwing hard sliders. You want to talk about why people's arms are exploding when they're 19 years old, 20 years old, and everyone needs Tommy John surgery nowadays? Pitch count. You want to go old school baseball. They used to throw 150 pitches per game. They used to go complete games all the time. No, stop. You want to know why kids' arms are exploding? It's because they're learning how to throw from these weird arm angles when they're 8 years old. Enough with the pitch count stuff. I love the Little League World Series. It's a nice event. I used to want to play in it desperately when I was growing up.
You don't still want to, by the way.
It'd be pretty cool just to see some 6'2" guy go ping.
Produce your false birth certificate. Some of those guys are our size.
I know. It's really frightening the way it is. When I was in Little League, I went up against Jim Johnson. He was in Union Endicott, All-Star, and he torched us for Binghamton All-Stars. We lost 22-1. It was a nightmare.
My problem, I still don't like the kids exposed to that kind of attention, and I hate the parent shots.
The parent shots annoy me. And I deal with high school parents and all those people all the time. They infuriate me when they live vicariously through their children and their success is the parents' success. But look, being a kid who played baseball pretty seriously growing up, I always dreamt of it. That's fine. But enough with the 74-mile-an-hour sliders from 12-year-olds.
And to your point, how many of those kids who are these great childhood pitchers go on to actually
It's like less
make
than
it
1%.
Exactly.
It's a shockingly low
so,
percentage.
maybe there is something that needs to change there.
But I don't think that's a parental influence. I think those kids would be on YouTube learning to throw those pitches anyway. How many of those adults are teaching those kids to throw pitches? And how many kids learned it? The coach saw it and said, okay, go do your thing. You're going to stop them from throwing a pitch?
When I was 12, it was fastball or changeup, and the changeup was usually just because the kid threw really hard with his arm and it just didn't go very
You didn't have YouTube, Tobes.
This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse, and Unfinished Business is next.
Here is the MVP Experience Stat of the Week, brought to you by Sport Clips, where it's good to be a guy. No appointment ever needed.
And now to Eichel. He floated one.
Look at those guys, triumphing over the afternoon.
Because they went on a Dunkin' run and got $2 snacks. Hey, guys. Hey.
The Dunkin' Run menu. Delicious $2 afternoon snacks.
Welcome back. This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Our favorite portion of the show, Unfinished Business, brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. Set the bar.
Earlier this week, there was a man on eBay who was selling his basketball fandom. I don't know if you saw this story. He was a Knicks fan. He decided after 17 years he wasn't going to be a Knicks fan, and he was going to allow the person that won this bidding to choose his next basketball team. And part of the deal was he would burn all his Knicks stuff and buy tickets and the NBA package to watch all the games on TV. At the time of this taping, it's up over $3,000. And this makes me really upset because not a lot of guys choose which team, men or women choose which team they're going to cheer for, right? It's normally a birthright. It's passed down from your mother or your father or your grandpa or that weird uncle who lets you watch games and maybe take a sip of beer before you're 21. My point I'm trying to make is this. When you abandon your team for any reason short of them leaving your city, you are a horrible person. What gives you the right to decide when you've had enough? This team that has brought you joy, for all the bottom that there is, you have had joy in your life. And there is something about loyalty when it comes to sports that counts more than anything on the planet. If you're too much of a snowflake, all you old guys that have decided you're betting on teams, that you can't handle a couple of losing seasons, well, that makes you less of a person in my eyes. And so help me goodness, if anyone that I have ever met decided they were done cheering for a team because they weren't doing well, I'm no longer friends with that guy, Bill.
My favorite part of that was how he said that he would bet the over and the over-under on his new team just to prove he was invested in it.
As he's getting paid to do so. That makes me, I'm so angry.
There'd be no Bills fans left if that was commonplace. Go ahead, Kim.
All right, my rant, not as passionate as that, but last weekend I had the chance to catch a BIG3 basketball game, and it was one of the most entertaining things I've seen this summer. For those that don't know what it is, it's 3-on-3 style basketball with mainly made up of retired professional NBA players, and it's quick. It's entertaining. They got the guys mic'd up. They got the coaches mic'd up. They're doing interviews while the game's going on, and don't be fooled. This is not like something that they do for fun. This gets very competitive, and it's guys who are freshly retired, or maybe their careers at some point were cut short due to injury. So they still got it. And I was really surprised to see this be so entertaining for the viewer. I wasn't going to give it a chance, but they hooked me pretty quick. Recently, there was a rumor that Kobe Bryant might be joining the league. That was not true, but who's to say that if this thing doesn't grow, something like that could happen in the future? And I don't see why other sports don't kind of adopt a similar thing in their off season just to get people talking about their sport, their league, their players, their former players. I think it's a great thing for marketing especially, and they got my attention.
Competitive, entertaining, and quick. What more do you need?
Right. Especially, I mean, it's the off season. What else is going on?
3-on-3 hockey, too. Also known as
perfect
overtime.
for hockey. Yeah.
Speaking of hockey, we're going hockey golf. The two worlds kind of merged this week when the Rochester Americans Alumni Tournament happened, and you saw Amherst GM Randy Sexton, Sabres GM Jason Bottrell, Amherst coach Chris Taylor. It feels strange to say, but we're just a few weeks from camp opening, and preseason's right behind that, and then the regular season right behind that. And I want to focus on the Amherst a little bit. They have a lot of the same players coming back from last year. They have the same coach coming back from last year, who is a former Amherst. They still have their very own general manager. The Pagulas are taking over the Blue Cross Arena. This feels a little, dare I say, old school. I've kind of been on a get off my lawn stool this morning and kind of shouting down at the kids, but this feels like what everyone told me the old school Amherst were starting to feel like. There's been excitement and hope that Rochester would turn things around for a lot of years now. It actually feels like they've turned the corner a little bit. And it's odd to say this, but the Pegulas taking control of the Blue Cross Arena may have finally hammered that home. They talked when they merged the two teams back together and bought the two teams that they were going to create a hockey heaven in Western New York. It feels like this is their way to do it because you feel like it started to happen in Buffalo, and it actually feels like it started to happen in Rochester. I can't wait for October for that season to start.
Think of anything that makes our winter shorter than a good hockey season.
Yeah, and you saw the fans turn out for that only playoff game at home last year on a Wednesday night. That was awesome. That'll tell you the excitement's back in the building.
This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Unfinished Business is brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. Kim, great to have you back. We'll do it again.
Thank you.
Toby, thank you. Pat, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week. Kevin and Clubs will join us with the Rochester Press Box.